As consumers, we are influenced both consciously and subconsciously by advertising in our everyday life. The kinds of ads that appeal to us depend on who we are morally and demographically. Successful marketers understand this and spend their careers figuring out how to target certain groups of consumers. As a result, advertising has progressed through the years as society and culture have, especially in the realm of gender. What was once a strict binary between male and female has changed to more of an entire spectrum ranging between masculinity and femininity. Theorists like Laura Mulvey, who focused on women as a means for visual pleasure, have been outdated and replaced with more current arguments, overviewing what it means to be masculine versus feminine, and how that is used to appeal to both men and women. In looking at contemporary advertisement examples, one can realize that though some stereotypes about both gender roles hold true, they are approached in different ways. But how do advertisers ensure that their campaigns are received well by the public? Advertising uses these gender roles, masculinity and femininity, to appeal to consumers by constructing them in the first place. Because of this, as time has progressed, gender roles have remained congruent to the way that they are portrayed in the media and public advertisement. To begin, consumer behavior and advertising decisions interact equally with one another based on something called semiotics. In short, consumers will take in an advertisement and break down what each sign and symbol means, assigning meaning to each element. Therefore, the product being promoted acquires the message that each model or actor and their characteristics display. For example, in this advertisement for Aveeno, consumers associate the lotion and brand with a beautiful and influential actress like Jennifer Aniston. Through this made association, a reality is built in the consumer's mind that if they bought and used said product, their reality would reflect that of Jennifer Aniston's. Thus, Aveeno's advertising team has succeeded in constructing a reality that any consumer who identifies with Aniston should strive for. Any user of Aveeno lotion will hold Aniston's effortless beauty and grace, and that's what consumers should want to do in order to be considered feminine. As this ad works on consumers, and women purchase the product, this reality is further reinforced in women's minds. This example just touches the surface of how influential advertisements can be on what it means to be masculine or feminine, and how that is used to construct reality for and attract different target markets. In 1975, Laura Mulvey was a theorist whose ideas ruled the way that Americans experience visual pleasure. Her theory surrounding a concept called the male gaze discussed how women were used as tools in media to appeal to men. Seeing them as strictly sexual beings, Mulvey touched upon humans' primal need for sex and how that sells products. However, as time progressed and females had advanced within the modern world, Mulvey's theory had become invalid, inverted even. With more women taking on prominent roles within the media industry, females have begun to be represented in non-sexual and prominent ways. As the difference between male and female has morphed into a fluid spectrum, the wants and needs of consumers have changed, thus outdating Mulvey and transforming the concept of the male gaze. As Lorna Stevens and Jacob Ostberg explored in their essay, Gendered Bodies, the focus on consumers shifted with social change associated with postmodernism. What was once a strict binary between men, as rational consumers, and women, as customers that would act on passion, became a fluidity between genders. With postmodernism, consumers became more subjective, and marketing efforts began to also transform. As gender identity became less about biological sex and more about how consumers identified, marketers were left with a wider range of targets. Thus, as Stevens and Osberg explored, they were forced to rely their efforts on less traditional and more relatable grounds, masculinity and femininity. In regards to masculinity in advertising, theorists Jonathan Schroeder and Detlev Zwick discuss how male representation is in fact an effect created by marketing. In their essay, Mirrors of Masculinity, they reiterate that most ads make very little mention of the actual product or service, and instead allow consumers to transfer meanings from the visuals provided onto the product. In the instance of male representation, they argue that Mulvey's male gaze theory is actually inverted. Men are so focused on themselves nowadays that they look to their own bodies before women. Linking different lifestyles to various representations of masculinity makes consumers want to live vicariously through the models and/or actors by mimicking their actions and purchases.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man could smell like. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamonds. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
In this clip, an advertisement for Old Spice, women are only mentioned as the actual viewer. By shifting the gaze onto men rather than from men, one might think that male consumers would not be intrigued. However, as Schroeder and Zwick have pointed out, men are more narcissistic than Mulvey realized. They see a handsome man competing for a woman using a manly body wash. Consumers relate the actor's masculinity and lavish lifestyle to Old Spice's product, thus appealing to men and persuading them to purchase the body wash as well. Additionally, in their piece, Representation of Masculinity and Femininity in Advertising, Edward Timke and William O'Bard discuss just how ads have begun to construct the ideal life for men, claiming their products will help achieve it. They cite a large range of what it means to be masculine, but argue that characteristics such as dominance, confidence, and bravery are key when appealing to any male and someone who identifies as masculine.
Okay, are you sure you guys are gonna be okay?
For the 10th time, honey, we'll be fine. Just go.
Yes, let's go. Come on.
Bye.
On the blitz, Rodgers gets a hand to the face. The ball is out.
Touchdown! Dance and 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 dance. Whee! Yes.
Glad to see you. Oh, yeah. What's going on in here?
Okay. This was easy.
Even as men are shown in traditionally female roles, such as a child caregiver, it is tailored to be masculine, oftentimes humorous, and displaying innovative or non-traditional parenting styles that reflect masculinity. In regards to femininity, 2 theorists have gotten stereotypes right for a long time. Germaine Greer and Mary Ellman both presented several characteristics of femininity that still hold true in today's society. Though not seen as the object of male gaze as much, women are still used as sexual objects when it comes to advertising. However, as Greer points out, the stereotype used is that of the eternal feminine. Not only is she appealing to men, but women as well. Though sexual innuendos are still present in today's ads, the femininity displayed is desired equally by both men and women. Stevens and Osberg particularly relate their idea of carnal femininity to eating and how sexualized ads in regards to food consumption are effective because they display everyone's secret pleasure. And despite not being sexually attracted to them, feminine consumers can relate to the actresses shown. All of these scholars reiterate the impossibility of achieving the perfect feminine stereotype. But that's what advertisements actively try to convince consumers that they can do. In showing situations and perceived realistic women as achieving this perfect balance of characteristics, such as sexual yet nurturing, consumers can be convinced that a company's product or service will do the same for them.
indo pra onde? Tá indo pra onde?
大赛马上要临近了。
无上的猎物。
儿子，你行的啊，你可以的，孩子。
P&G, proud sponsor of moms.
Another take on femininity presents women in a nurturing form. In this ad from P&G, a feminine strength is shown in motherhood. The mothers of prominent athletes are shown comforting their children at a young age, and the commercial follows how that display of affection morphed them into the Olympic success that they are. In this ad example, femininity is not presented in a sexual manner, but it is still seen as subordinate to masculinity. A woman's strength is displayed as being a comforting present, yet masculine strengths include perseverance, bravery, and confidence. However, it is what works with emotional consumers that make up the feminine market, and that is why companies continue to utilize this method to attract customers. To conclude, marketers and advertising as a whole play equally key roles in both constructing and reinforcing gender roles in modern-day society. Even as gender identity and representations have changed, mass media has remained extremely influential on the way that consumers around the world perceive themselves and what consumption can do to further affirm that made identity. It is especially imminent to realize, as consumers ourselves, how marketing teams can create content to present customers with a false reality surrounding their products or services. Several scholars have published works discussing this consumer manipulation, and though not all advertisements fall onto the spectrum between masculine and feminine, a majority do. It is important to realize and understand this in order to make more informed and fair consumption decisions, no matter where on the spectrum you identify.